Men don't fall for chaos. They fall for calm they can trust. When a woman controls her emotions, she controls the room without saying a word. Emotional stability creates safety, and safety is one of the most powerful forces in human connection, especially for men who live in a world that constantly asks them to perform, protect, provide, and stay composed under pressure. Most men are trained, directly or indirectly, to suppress emotional expression, to stay functional even when overwhelmed, to solve instead of feel. Because of that, their nervous system is almost always on alert, scanning for threats, tension, conflict, or emotional volatility. When a man encounters an emotionally stable woman, his body recognizes something before his mind does. His breathing slows, his shoulders drop, his guard softens without effort. This is not a conscious decision. It's a biological response. Emotionally stable women don't create chaos to feel connected. They don't use emotional swings to gain reassurance. Their reactions are proportionate, grounded, and predictable. And predictability, in this context, is not boring. It's calming. It tells a man that he doesn't have to stay hyper-aware, that he doesn't need to anticipate an emotional storm, that he won't be punished for saying the wrong thing in the wrong tone at the wrong time. Safety is felt when emotions are regulated, not suppressed, and not weaponized. Many men have experienced relationships where emotions were unpredictable, where small issues escalated quickly, where silence was used as punishment, or where affection was conditional. Over time, this teaches the nervous system to associate closeness with danger. So when a woman shows emotional consistency, when her mood isn't dependent on external validation, when she can experience discomfort without exploding or collapsing, that contrast is deeply felt. It creates relief. Relief turns into trust. Trust turns into attachment. Emotionally stable women communicate without flooding the space. They don't unload every feeling impulsively, and they don't expect their partner to regulate their emotions for them. This doesn't mean they don't feel deeply. It means they take responsibility for their inner world. Men are drawn to this because it removes an invisible burden. They don't feel like they have to constantly fix, rescue, or absorb emotional intensity just to keep the relationship balanced. Safety also comes from clarity. Emotionally stable women are clear about what they feel and why. They don't test love through drama. They don't confuse intensity with intimacy. When something is wrong, they can express it without accusation, without panic, without turning the moment into a character attack. This kind of communication signals maturity. It tells a man that conflict won't turn into emotional warfare, that disagreements can exist without threatening connection. From a biological standpoint, men are wired to protect and provide, but they are not wired to live in constant emotional unpredictability. When emotional environments feel unstable, stress hormones increase. Cortisol stays elevated. Over time, attraction fades because the body associates that person with tension. Emotionally stable women, on the other hand, regulate the emotional temperature of the room. They don't spike stress levels, they bring balance. And the body remembers that. Men often feel most themselves around emotionally stable women. They can be quiet without being questioned. They can be tired without being judged. They can be imperfect without fear of emotional consequences. This freedom creates a sense of home. Not a place, but a feeling. A place where performance isn't required and authenticity isn't punished. Another reason emotional stability creates safety is because it signals self-trust. A woman who trusts herself doesn't seek constant reassurance. She doesn't need to monitor every shift in energy. She doesn't interpret neutral behavior as rejection. This reduces emotional pressure. Men feel less scrutinized, less evaluated, less on trial. The relationship becomes a space to exist, not a space to constantly prove worth. Emotionally stable women also know how to pause. They don't react immediately to discomfort. They allow space between trigger and response. That pause is powerful. It prevents unnecessary damage. It keeps conversations grounded. Men instinctively respect this because it mirrors emotional leadership. It shows control, not suppression. Strength, not detachment. Safety is also created through emotional boundaries. Emotionally stable women don't overextend themselves emotionally, and they don't allow emotional chaos into their space. They know when to engage and when to step back. This boundary setting creates structure, and structure is calming. Men feel where they stand. They know what is acceptable and what is not. Ambiguity decreases. Anxiety follows ambiguity, not clarity. Many men don't articulate this attraction because it's not rooted in surface traits. It's not about looks, status, or charm. It's about how their body feels in someone's presence. Emotional stability tells a man that he won't be emotionally ambushed, that his vulnerability won't be used against him later, that calm moments won't suddenly turn into tests of loyalty or affection. Emotionally stable women don't demand emotional labor as proof of love. They don't equate intensity with commitment. This allows men to give freely instead of defensively. When giving doesn't feel like survival, it becomes genuine. Men open more in environments where they feel emotionally safe because safety reduces fear of consequences. This is why emotional stability is magnetic without effort. It's not loud, doesn't announce itself. It's felt. It's experienced in how conversations unfold, in how silence is handled, in how tension is resolved. Men don't feel drained after interaction. They feel grounded. And the nervous system seeks what regulates it, what calms it, what restores balance, especially in a world that constantly pushes men into stress and pressure. Emotionally stable women become a place where tension dissolves, where connection feels natural, where attraction grows not from excitement alone, but from the deep, instinctive recognition of peace. Women who regulate their emotions command respect without demanding attention, because respect is not requested through volume, explanation, or performance. It is earned through presence, consistency, and self-control. Emotional regulation is one of the clearest signals of inner authority. When a woman can feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings, people around her sense stability, and stability naturally elevates status. Men in particular respond to this not as an idea, but as an instinct. They read it in her tone, her timing, her restraint, and the way she doesn't rush to fill silence just to be noticed. Most attention-seeking behavior is rooted in emotional dysregulation. It comes from the need to be validated, reassured, or reacted to. When emotions feel overwhelming internally, the impulse is to pull attention from the outside to regain balance. Emotionally regulated women don't operate from that place. They don't need constant engagement to feel secure. Their sense of worth is internal, not negotiated in real time through reactions. This is why they don't chase attention and why they don't fear losing it. And that independence from validation is precisely what draws respect. Men are constantly observing how a woman handles emotional discomfort, not because they're judging her character consciously, but because emotional behavior predicts future relational safety. A woman who reacts impulsively, escalates quickly, or uses emotion as leverage creates uncertainty. A woman who can pause, reflect, and respond with control creates predictability. Predictability builds trust. Trust builds respect, and respect is far more durable than attraction built on excitement alone. Emotional regulation also communicates confidence without words. A woman who doesn't need to over-explain herself, defend every feeling, or justify every boundary sends a subtle message that she trusts her own judgment. She doesn't need consensus to stand firm. She doesn't need approval to remain steady. Men read this as strength, not dominance, not coldness, but grounded authority. It signals that she is not easily swayed by pressure, manipulation, or emotional games. Women who regulate their emotions also understand timing. They don't address everything the moment it arises. They allow clarity to form before speaking. This restraint prevents unnecessary conflict and keeps conversations focused. Men respect this because it shows foresight. It shows that she values resolution over reaction, that she understands the impact of her words and chooses them deliberately instead of emotionally. Attention-demanding behavior often looks loud, expressive, or dramatic, but it rarely commands respect. It may attract focus temporarily, but it doesn't create admiration. Emotional regulation, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It's felt in how a woman carries herself when things don't go her way, how she handles disappointment without collapsing, how she sets boundaries without aggression, how she maintains composure when others lose theirs. Men are especially drawn to women who don't turn emotional moments into performances. Women who don't exaggerate feelings to be heard, who don't escalate tone to gain control, who don't use tears, anger, or withdrawal as tools. This emotional maturity removes power struggles from the dynamic. When there is no emotional chaos to manage, men can relax into mutual respect instead of defensive positioning. Respect also grows when a woman doesn't outsource her emotional regulation. She doesn't expect a man to fix her feelings, calm her storms, or carry her emotional weight. She can self-soothe. She can process internally. This creates balance. Men feel like partners, not caretakers, equals, not emotional managers. That equality is deeply respected, even if it's never verbally acknowledged. Emotionally regulated women also tolerate discomfort without abandoning themselves or the connection. They don't panic when things feel uncertain. They don't rush to control outcomes. This patience signals emotional intelligence. It shows that she understands that not every feeling requires immediate action, that some emotions are meant to pass, not be acted upon. Men respect this because it aligns with long-term thinking rather than short-term relief. Another reason emotional regulation commands respect is because it limits manipulation. A woman who is steady cannot be easily provoked. She doesn't react to bait. She doesn't engage in emotional tug-of-war. This makes her difficult to control through emotional pressure. Men subconsciously recognize this resilience. They understand that respect is required because influence through emotional volatility won't work. Women who regulate their emotions also model behavior. They set the emotional tone of the relationship. Their calm becomes contagious. Their restraint creates space for honest dialogue. Men often rise to meet the standard, becoming more thoughtful, more measured, more respectful themselves. Emotional regulation doesn't just protect her status, it elevates the dynamic as a whole. This kind of respect is not loud. It's shown through consistency, through how a man listens more carefully, how he considers her reactions, how he values her perspective. It's built over time through repeated experiences of emotional steadiness. No demand is ever made. No rule is announced. Respect grows naturally because the environment she creates encourages it. Women who regulate their emotions don't confuse expression with empowerment. They know that strength isn't about saying everything you feel the moment you feel it. It's about choosing what deserves energy. This discernment creates gravity. Men feel it. They sense that her presence is intentional, not reactive. That her silence is not absence but control. That her words carry weight because they are not wasted. In relationships, this translates into influence without force. Boundaries without threats. Boundaries without threats. Standards without ultimatums. Men respect women who don't need to raise their voice to be heard, who don't need to dramatize pain to be acknowledged, who don't need attention to confirm their worth, because emotional regulation turns composure into authority, calm into power, and restraint into a form of leadership that doesn't ask for recognition but receives it naturally.